The heir to a family worth hundreds of billions, Chamin, because he was too ugly, was abandoned and fell into despair, wanting to jump off a building. He regretted it, but a sudden gust of wind left him no chance to turn back. Luckily, he survived by getting caught on a wall, but before he could call for help, something unknown slammed into him, sending him flying. He fell to the ground, died instantly, and his soul floated in the air. At that moment, a man and a dog appeared by his side. It turned out 2 aliens had passed by Earth and accidentally caused the accident. To make up for their mistake, they decided to use the abyss to revive him. His stopped heart soon started beating again. But everyone revived by the abyss would appear in the form of their soul. In an instant, Chamin transformed from an ugly man into a handsome, charming figure and became the new master of the abyss. Chamin had liked Go Se-yun since childhood, but because of his ugly looks, he pursued her unsuccessfully for 20 years, until Se-yun introduced him to Hyo Min-jin. Within just a few months, Chamin and Min-jin began planning marriage, but on the eve of the wedding, Min-jin ran away with his money. Desperate to find out the truth, Chamin sought information about Min-jin from Se-yun. But Se-yun pushed him down. Not recognizing Chamin in his new face, Se-yun, who often judged people by appearances, was instantly captivated by this handsome stranger and suddenly became gentle and caring. Chamin, having never seen this tender side of Se-yun, was stunned. Se-yun apologized while applying medicine to his wounds and even prepared clothes for him. Just as Chamin was about to ask about Min-jin's whereabouts, a phone call interrupted. His friend sent him a photo of his girlfriend at the airport. Without time to explain, he rushed out with the clothes, searching all the airports but failing to find her. That night, he returned to Se-yun's place, intending to ask again, but the drunken Se-yun ordered him to fetch medicine for her hangover. Though he protested, Chamin obeyed. This errand unexpectedly changed Se-yun's view of him. Later, Se-yun left him a message before going to sleep, unaware of the danger coming. On the way back, Chamin encountered a man dying from hypothermia. He quickly called for help, but the man died within seconds. At the same time, the abyss in his pocket grew hot. Remembering his own resurrection, Chamin thought perhaps it could save this man too, but he didn't know how to use it. As the ambulance called, Chamin left to meet them. In that moment, the abyss, left on the ground, activated on its own and revived the dead man. By the time Chamin returned with medics, the man had already disappeared. Unbeknownst to him, it was actually a murderer. When Chamin returned to Se-yun's building, his phone had broken, so he missed Se-yun's messages. He called out, but no response came. The lights upstairs went out, and angry neighbors scolded him for the noise, forcing him to leave, unaware that Se-yun had already been killed, and the murderer was watching him leave from the window. The next day, Chamin learned of the tragedy. While grieving, another shock came. He was accused of murdering Se-yun. Though he had changed his face, the police had yet to notice him. At the funeral, Chamin secretly tried to use the abyss to revive Se-yun, but nothing happened before the coffin was sealed. Disappointed, he left. Just then, funeral staff discovered they had used the wrong coffin lid. As they replaced it, Se-yun's corpse suddenly sat up. Though alive, her parents were still conducting her funeral. When Se-yun tried to stop them, everyone thought she was just making trouble. Her once loving father treated her like a stranger, scolding her coldly. Se-yun was pushed away mercilessly. Confused and heartbroken, she caught sight of her reflection in the glass and froze. It wasn't her own face. Before she could react, someone pulled her away. Chamin revealed to her that she had already died and was revived through the abyss. Se-yun sneered, thinking Chamin was lying. The Chamin she knew was short and ugly, nothing like this handsome man. But Chamin provided proof that shook her certainty. To uncover the truth, Se-yun followed him back to the crime scene. Go Se-yun, a prosecutor, had long been used to seeing bloody crime scenes. Even when looking at her own murder site, she remained calm and professional. She observed carefully, trying to recall the details of her death, but found nothing useful. Although she had accepted the fact that she had died once, suddenly turning from a glamorous goddess into an ordinary woman was something she struggled to adapt to. And that wasn't even the worst of it. Having just climbed out of her own coffin, she gave off an eerie vibe, while Chamin had now become a fugitive. The two of them had no money. Seon suddenly had an idea. She took Chamin to a pawn shop and, without mercy, stripped him of everything valuable, even his shoes. That night, the two of them temporarily stayed at Se-yeon's old convenience store. By day, they continued investigating her murder. Soon, they noticed a suspicious taxi, but without her prosecutor status, Se-yeon couldn't investigate further. Just as she felt stuck, an encounter with a rude woman gave her a new lead. That woman was Lee Mi-do, Se-yeon's old law school senior. The two had never been close, and Mi-do had long since quit being a prosecutor to work as a lawyer abroad. Se-yeon hadn't thought about her in years, but now it was the perfect chance. She could borrow Mi-do's identity. Se-yeon and Chamin even moved into Mi-do's vacant house. When Chamin saw Mi-do's photo, he was shocked at how much Se-yeon now resembled her. Se-yeon, however, was stunned by another face in the photo, someone she recognized and had once worked with. At that moment, Detective Park Dong-cheol received a message from his ex-girlfriend asking for help. Naive as always, Dong-cheol thought she wanted to reconcile and readily agreed, waiting for her reply, unaware that she had only used him for information and then discarded him. Following the lead, Se-yeon and Chamin went to the address they'd found, only to discover the house belonged to a victim's family, murdered by the serial killer they were chasing. The killer was revealed to be Oh Yang-cheol, a doctor whom Se-yeon had once suspected. Chamin froze upon seeing his photo, because the night Se-yeon was murdered, he had used the abyss to resurrect this very man. It was only then he realized he had accidentally saved a serial killer and might have indirectly caused Se-yeon's death. Determined to find her real killer, Se-yeon impersonated lawyer Lee Mi-do. In doing so, she unexpectedly crossed paths with Mi-do's ex-boyfriend. Though embarrassed by his affectionate gaze, Se-yeon forced herself to play along. For the sake of the investigation, she pretended to be Mi-do, sometimes even acting coy when necessary. Detective Park Dong-cheol fell for it completely, never suspecting the truth. Focused on finding the murder, Se-yeon had no idea that Oh Yang-cheol was right in front of her. Revived by the abyss, he had returned in the body of an old man. Se-yeon failed to recognize him, and he continued killing in his new appearance. One day, Se-yeon unexpectedly spotted Hyo Min-jin, her ex-fiancé who had betrayed Chamin, at a crime scene. Seeing her looking so pitiful, Se-yeon instinctively chased after her, but a passing motorcycle cut her off. Not wanting Chamin to remain in despair, Se-yeon shamelessly begged Detective Dong-cheol to help track her down. But just as they were searching, Min-jin suddenly appeared at the police station, where she reported Chamin as a murderer. Se-yeon nearly rushed into the interrogation room to explain, but Chamin stopped her. Revealing the truth about their resurrection was too dangerous. No one would believe it anyway. Se-yeon promised to go in herself to gauge the situation. Yet upon hearing Min-jin's testimony, even she began to waver. When she came back out, her attitude toward Chamin had completely changed, sarcastic, suspicious, even threatening him with a knife at night just to test him. Chamin was baffled. The next day, Se-yeon overheard that fingerprint analysis could confirm identity. She immediately dragged Chamin to get tested. When the green light confirmed his innocence, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. But before they could celebrate, breaking news aired. Because of Min-jin's accusations, Chamin was now officially a wanted man. Worse still, Min-jin appeared live on television, urging Chamin to turn himself in, and even claimed she was pregnant with his child. Hearing that, Chamin panicked and wanted to go to the station to clear things up. Se-yeon stopped him. In desperation, Chamin pulled out the abyss. If no one would believe him, he said he'd rather kill himself and let Se-yeon revive him again. The two struggled, and their strange behavior was noticed by Detective Dong-cheol, who curiously asked what kind of game they were playing. Detective Park Dong-cheol couldn't see the abyss. When he noticed Chamin holding out his hand, he thought Min was asking for money and kindly gave him 50 cents. It turned out only those revived by the abyss could see it. The plan failed, and Chamin wanted to find Hyo Min-jin again. Se-yeon grew frustrated at his blind faith in Min-jin. Chamin wasn't certain. That night Min-jin had been drunk and barely conscious, so he didn't remember exactly what happened. Se-yeon immediately realized he had been tricked, But Chamin refused to listen to her criticism of Minjin. He still insisted Minjin truly loved him. Leaving Se-yeon behind, Chamin went to meet Minjin again. This time, he managed to contact her, and they agreed to meet in the park, unaware it was a trap to capture him. At the station, Se-yeon heard about the setup and rushed to warn Chamin, but her calls didn't go through. Desperate, she borrowed a delivery rider's scooter and sped toward the meeting spot. Before she could stop him, Minjin arrived at the park, but the moment she stepped out of her car, a truck slammed into her. The hit-and-run driver was none other than Oh Yang-cheol. Chamin quickly took out the abyss to save her but remembered it only activated when no outsiders were around. He put Minjin in his car, shoved Se-yeon aside, and explained the abyss's rules before driving off alone. In a secluded place, he tried again, and Minjin was revived. Fearing for her baby, he rushed her to the hospital, only to learn she wasn't pregnant at all. She had deceived him once more. Later, Chamin discovered the serial killer's true identity. But in a moment of carelessness, he was silenced by Oh Yang-cheol. Se-yeon wanted to use the abyss to bring Chamin back, but the orb gave her a message. The second revived person will temporarily become the new owner. Then it disappeared from her hands and flew straight into Oh Yang-cheol's pocket. Although heartbroken, Se-yeon didn't give up. She confessed Chamin's real identity to Detective Park Dong-cheol, then dragged Minjin along to help track the abyss. Only those revived by it could see it. Meanwhile, Oh Yang-cheol killed again, burning bodies to destroy evidence. The abyss in his pocket activated on its own. Confused, he tossed the glowing orb to the ground. Se-yeon, monitoring CCTV, saw the flash and rushed to the scene. But by the time she arrived, it was too late. The corpse had already been revived, and Oh Yang-cheol left the site without realizing what had happened. Se-yeon finally understood the abyss's power. She and Minjin decided to split up to track him. But when Minjin found a lead, she panicked and ran away. It turned out the suspect was the very man who had once kidnapped and threatened her, framed Chamin, and then tried to kill her. Terrified, she refused to help further. Helpless, Se-yeon continued alone. She found Minjin's discarded, broken phone and discovered a hidden bug inside. She realized Oh Yang-cheol must have been monitoring them. To lure him out, Se-yeon deliberately leaked false information about going to Myeongseong Hospital. When Yang-cheol learned Minjin was still alive, he rushed to the hospital. Se-yeon alerted Detective Park, who set up an ambush. Disguising herself as Minjin, Se-yeon lured Yang-cheol into a hospital ward. There, the abyss suddenly activated again. Lifting the blanket on the bed, she found Chamin's lifeless body. She had gone through all this just to revive him. As his heartbeat returned, Yang-cheol furiously tried to kill him again. Hearing the commotion, Se-yeon hurried back. Chamin suddenly woke, startling Se-yeon. Seeing the long wig from her disguise, he thought he had been reborn as a woman and panicked. While Se-yeon was overjoyed he was alive. Realizing it was just a wig, Chamin ripped it off. Meanwhile, despite police efforts, Oh Yang-cheol once again escaped into the night. Not long after, Minjin reappeared, claiming she was pregnant again, and even showed up at Chamin's place asking for help. Though Chamin saw through her lies, he still arranged a place for her to stay. To his surprise, news of this reached his mother. She was furious. Though she hated the woman who had deceived her son again and again, she held back because of the supposed pregnancy. But Minjin herself had also been deceived. Using lies, she managed to move into another luxury apartment. Worried that her fake pregnancy might be exposed, she tried to secretly buy a positive pregnancy test online. But the seller demanded an in-person meeting, and in her haste, she agreed. Waiting for her, however, was not a seller, but the serial killer Oh Yang-cheol. He used Minjin's mother's safety as leverage, forcing her to reveal the abyss's secret and the fact that Go Se-yeon was still alive. At the same time, Se-yeon was distractedly watching Chamin at work. After his second resurrection, he had cleared his name and reclaimed his inheritance. Seeing him so serious and confident, Se-yeon couldn't help but admire him. Though when he looked back, she quickly covered it with her usual sarcastic expression. Meanwhile, Oh Yang-cheol kidnapped Se-yeon's parents to force her out of hiding. Se-yeon rushed to save them, following his instructions without telling anyone. But as soon as she arrived, she was drugged and tied up. At the last moment, Chamin, having secretly followed her, burst in, called the police, and tried to fight Yang Cheol. Hearing the sirens outside, Yang Cheol grabbed Se-yeon's mother as a hostage and tried to escape. But the building was already surrounded, and he was finally captured. Even then, the case wasn't over. Se-yeon later learned from an old junk collector that on the night of her murder, he had seen a young man leaving her house. Though he hadn't seen the face clearly, it reignited her suspicions. At that time, her false identity as lawyer Lee Mi-do was also in jeopardy, because the real Mi-do had returned, though looking completely different after cosmetic surgery. At first, Se-yeon thought she was another imposter, but soon realized it was truly her. Feeling guilty, she quietly watched as Mi-do was taken away. Chamin, worried their cover would be blown, quickly apologized to Mi-do with gifts and left the borrowed house. But then Min-jin betrayed him once again, giving up their address in exchange for her mother's safety. Se-yeon hurried over to protect Mi-do and managed to save him, but she herself was stabbed in the process. At the hospital, Min-jin came to visit Se-yeon. For once, even Chamin, who had always tolerated her, was completely disappointed in her selfishness. But when Se-yeon awoke, she allowed Min-jin to stay, saying she could make up for her sins by helping them. Still, Se-yeon could see that Chamin no longer had any lingering feelings for Min-jin. Instead, his heart had changed. Sensing this, she asked him to stay with her until she fell asleep. In truth, she had already developed feelings for him. The atmosphere between them grew warm and ambiguous. When Chamin denied his feelings, Se-yeon boldly kissed him, then quickly hid under the covers in embarrassment. Chamin, however, wasn't about to let the moment slip away. The next morning, waking up to Chamin's handsome face, Se-yeon didn't act happy. Instead, she grumbled, pushing him away, embarrassed by the memory of the kiss. She even had a nightmare about it, dreaming Chamin rejected her because she had lost her beauty while he had become attractive. Still flustered, she tried to cover it up, claiming the kiss meant nothing. Chamin simply smiled, letting her say whatever she wanted, while secretly noting the date in his diary as something special. That night, he prepared a romantic surprise to confess his feelings, but Se-yeon accidentally discovered it when she scratched his car. She teased him, but he caught her in his arms, taking back the car keys and pulling her closer. Finally, Chamin took her to his secret hideout, a place where he had kept all his most treasured belongings since childhood. Even Chamin's mother didn't know about his secret place. Curious, Se-yeon opened one of his old boxes and found a tacky red case. Inside was the very first gift she had ever given him back in high school on Valentine's Day, an extra box of chocolates she had handed to him casually. Chamin had treasured it for 20 years. Seeing this, Se-yeon was stunned. She realized she had once given him a chance, but he was too timid to take it, and because of that, she never accepted his love. Realizing that Se-yeon must have liked him back then made Chamin's heart race with excitement. But Se-yeon, embarrassed, refused to say more. When he leaned closer to check her forehead, the mood between them shifted into something more intimate. Just as they were about to grow closer, Chamin accidentally hit a light switch, breaking the moment. Flustered, he rushed out, only to be overheard by the housekeeper, who quickly gave the two some privacy. Meanwhile, Yang Cheol's daughter, Jang Hee-jin, moved into Chamin's house by lying that she was pregnant. But Chamin's mother saw through her quickly and demanded she leave. Hee-jin refused, shamelessly claiming that even though Chamin knew she wasn't pregnant, he still loved her. In truth, she was only clinging on to buy time, hoping to find her missing mother. Later, following a threatening photo Hee-jin had received, Se-yeon and the others tracked her mother to a nursing home, but they arrived too late. They found only a discarded syringe, suggesting she had just been moved. Hearing a car engine outside, they rushed to chase it. It was her former colleague, prosecutor Seo Ji-wook. He turned out to be Yang Cheol's biological son, and one of the men responsible for Se-yeon's death. After Yang Cheol's arrest, he had entrusted Hee-jin's mother to Ji-wook, even telling him the secret of the abyss. To shake off pursuit, Ji-wook used a tunnel blind spot to disappear, then left Hee-jin's mother in the care of a blind old woman. Se-yeon, Chamin, and Hee-jin refused to give up. By checking a dashcam, they discovered a hidden side passage inside the tunnel, which led them to a remote cabin. Inside, the table was set with warm food, but no one was there. Unknown to them, Hee-jin's mother had been taken to a hospital after burning herself. The three of them waited until nightfall, but when Hee-jin twisted her ankle, they all headed to the hospital. There, Se-yeon unexpectedly ran into Ji-wook. At the time, she didn't know he had already learned the secret of her resurrection. Pretending to help, he told her he had information about Hee-jin's mother. Se-yeon reluctantly got into his car, but when she saw the road growing more remote, unease filled her. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, Hee-jin finally reunited with her mother. And Chamin, from the blind old woman, learned more shocking truths. The person who had brought Hee-jin's mother there was none other than Seo Ji-wook. Realizing this, Chamin immediately feared Se-yeon was in danger, but when he tried calling, her phone wouldn't connect. Meanwhile, though Se-yeon felt uneasy in Ji-wook's car, she kept a calm exterior, even joking casually. She scrolled on her phone, pretending to be relaxed, while secretly sending messages to Chamin. When his replies came too slowly, she called him. This time, instead of hanging up, Se-yeon pretended she was speaking to Detective Park Dong-chul, loudly giving away her location. She even snapped a selfie with Ji-wook to send over. Seeing her act so casually, Ji-wook's suspicion faded. When Se-yeon asked to use the restroom, he let her go. Only then did she allow herself to panic, hiding until Chamin found her. At this point, she believed Ji-wook had only kidnapped Hee-jin's mother, still unaware he was also one of the people who murdered her. Later, while Se-yeon was walking in the yard, Oh Yang-cheol crept up behind her, ready to strike. But before he could, someone hit him from behind. It was Hee-jin's mentally unstable mother, unknowingly saving Se-yeon's life. Se-yeon didn't realize she had just escaped death until Chamin arrived and told her that Oh Yang-cheol had escaped custody. From then on, Chamin was determined to guard her 24/7. He even sat outside her door at night, startling Se-yeon when she tried sneaking out. When she refused to rest, Chamin used tougher methods, eventually ending with the two lying next to each other. Se-yeon couldn't sleep at all, especially seeing the man who promised to protect her fall asleep instantly at her side. Just as they were about to share an intimate moment, a loud knock on the door interrupted them. It was security, who had found a blood-stained rock in the yard. The next day, Hee-jin learned that Oh Yang-cheol had tracked them down. Instead of running, she confronted him directly, trying to bait him into capture. But Yang-cheol overpowered her and kidnapped her mother again. His plan was twisted. He wanted to kill himself and force Se-yeon to use the abyss to revive him, hoping it would grant him a new body. But he didn't understand. The abyss restores your soul exactly as it is. No matter how many times he was revived, he would remain the same. Hearing this truth, Se-yeon laughed bitterly and told him. As his body weakened, the abyss began to react strangely. Surrounded by police, Oh Yang-cheol was taken to the hospital barely alive. But Se-yeon was struck by new grief. Her mother had died. Fortunately, the abyss returned to Chamin's possession, giving him one last hope to revive her. But before he could, both Se-yeon and Hee-jin were kidnapped by Seo Ji-wook. His goal was simple: to seize the abyss for himself. Even when Chamin handed it over, Ji-wook couldn't see the orb. While they struggled, a car suddenly roared to life, crashing into Ji-wook. Chamin rushed forward, only to find an unconscious Hee-jin inside. Se-yeon was gone. Ji-wook lay dying, and though Chamin wanted to beat the truth out of him, he was forced to save Hee-jin's mother instead. Finally, with no other choice, Chamin used a ruthless tactic, killing Ji-wook repeatedly with the abyss, reviving him over and over until the man broke. At last, Ji-wook confessed. Se-yeon was locked inside a refrigerated shipping container. Chamin rushed to the docks and saved her in the nick of time. Not long after, the tension eased into a comical moment. One drunken night, Se-yeon and Chamin stumbled into his mother's bedroom by mistake, leaving Chamin's poor mom trapped between two drunkards until morning. Chamin and Se-yeon sheepishly apologized to Chamin's mother after their drunken mix-up. Though confused by young people's ways of dating, she asked Se-yeon directly if she had ever thought about marrying Min. When Se-yeon answered yes, Chamin's mother finally smiled, showing her approval. From then on, Chamin openly skipped work to date Se-yun. She brought out her old high school bucket list. The things she had once wanted to do with him but never could because they weren't a couple back then. Together, they finally checked the list off, like ordinary lovers. Shopping, couple outfits, riding bikes. But while Se-yun was overjoyed, Min carried a quiet sorrow. He had realized that the abyss only had one use left. Once that final light faded, not only would the orb vanish, but so would its owner. Fearing to worry her, Min kept the truth hidden. Just as they completed her wish list, Seo Ji-wook suddenly appeared, holding Se-yun at gunpoint. Min, desperate to save her, considered trading the abyss, but Ji-wook had already lost everything. He no longer cared about deals. So Min bluffed, saying no matter who Ji-wook killed, he could revive them. Distracted, Ji-wook's grip faltered, giving Se-yun the chance to knock away the gun. Min rushed forward, and they fought violently. In the struggle, the gun went off. Se-yun was shot. Police arrived and arrested Ji-wook, but Min rushed Se-yun home. On the way, her breathing stopped. Without hesitation, Min used the abyss one last time. Se-yun revived, but Min himself began to fade, his body becoming transparent, just like the vanishing orb. He left without regret, choosing Se-yun's life over his own. It took her 3 years to recover. After Ji-wook was sentenced to death, she finally reunited with her parents. Yet, wherever she went, the abyss mysteriously appeared beside her, as though Min's presence lingered. Even when she visited Heejin in the countryside, the orb followed. One day, while walking the streets, Se-yun suddenly remembered Chamin. She bought the same ice cream they once shared on their date, but it slipped from her hands before she could finish it. As she sighed in regret, a familiar voice called from behind. Turning, she saw Chamin, back after 3 long years. At first, Se-yun dared not speak, afraid it was a dream. Only when Min assured her it was real did she collapse into relief. After disappearing, Min hadn't died. He had remained as a spirit, silently by her side. Too weak to leave her completely, he had stayed, which was why the abyss always appeared near her. One day, an old junk collector, who revealed himself as an alien observer of the abyss, was moved by Min's devotion. With his help, Min returned to life. Time passed, and a year after their marriage, the abyss itself disappeared completely. Rushing from the bathroom in panic, Se-yun prepared to tell Min. She handed him a pregnancy test. They weren't losing life. They were about to create one. Chamin and Go Se-yun, once bound by death, were finally bound by love and family.